Seasoner
and Co.
Hi everyone, apologies in advance for the cursed audio on this episode. The ghosts appear to be fighting back. However, out of respect for the cliffhanger, the release schedule, and Justin MacArthur's time and invaluable support, we've done our best to clean it up and re-record a couple of lines where needed. Welcome to
Second-Hand Haunting,
where we read ghost stories from a second-hand book I found in a second-hand shop and try and make sense of them.
Fun of them?
Sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense of them.
Fun of them.
Yeah, you got it.
I know the thing. It's me, Olly.
Hey! Hey, Justin.
Hey, Callum. It's me, Olly.
Oh, he'll love that.
Yeah, he'd love that. He's going to enjoy this.
Hey, listeners. Quick little note. Unfortunately, Ollie could not make it today. He's feeling a little under the weather, so we've got Justin filling in. How you going, Justin?
Fantastic. It's been a lovely day. I have wandered through the park. I followed the will-o'-the-wisps, and they have taken me here to the Scottish Highlands, Lowlands,
Yeah,
Scottish somewhere.
The Scotlands.
You take the high road and I'll take the low road.
Yeah, okay. and we'll meet somewhere in the bullshit in the middle.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
I do need to do a little asterisk here, and a big thank you to Justin for stepping in, because this is the result of our very first lost episode of Secondhand Haunting.
How spooky.
No, just annoying, really. Look,
It's haunted.
if ghosts had enough agency to delete podcast files, we'd all be in trouble.
Yes, yeah, please don't. Let's not even invoke that possibility.
No, because that is what happened. So Ollie has heard the entirety of this story already, and given that it's the second part that I ended a cliffhanger on a couple weeks ago, I figured I should probably finish it, right?
Well, I guess, if you must. I have so much else that I should be doing, but instead I have ghosts to hear.
Yeah.
No, it's great because I, of course, also guested on the show a couple of weeks ago, so it's nice to rejoin you for a part 2 of both episodes. Are we calling this part 2 of me and part 2 of Bogle?
I think we can call it a double part 2. Yeah?
Excellent. A revolution in podcasting for the listening audience.
So, yeah, this will be your second appearance on the show. I'm not going to call it the final.
Okay.
It's the second.
It is, but you're not going to say it because you're too polite.
Let's see how this goes, shall we?
Yeah.
Because last time you were here, we did just a bunch of, scattershot random short stories from True Irish Ghost Stories, right?
We did.
And they were all a bit just kind of nothing by the end of it, let's be honest.
I wasn't going to say that, but I'm glad you have. There was a lot of different stuff there, but it's helped me build up an appetite for the main course, which is some more Bogle. Is there going to be a Bogle in this one?
There's going to be something in this one.
Okay, or are we just post-Bogle in my post-Bogle era?
Well, the reason for this story in this book is that, if you do remember from Death Bogle of the Crossroads, thankfully, Justin, you have listened to that episode. You're not coming in totally blind.
Yes, and I've heard there will be a test.
Oh, yeah.
A pop quiz on Bogle facts.
But yeah, the reason for this story being here is that Elliott O'Donnell, the author of this book and the victim, experiencer, witness of the first Bogle incident, was...
Hauntee?
Hauntee? Yeah, well, he was just kind of there while the Bogle was haunting 2 other guys on a horse and cart.
Right. Yeah, so he was just kind of there.
Yeah.
Okay.
to see the Bogle touch a boy.
Yeah.
That's the end of that story.
Yeah.
And then his landlord.
Okay.
Right? So Flora MacDonald was like, oh, yeah, I've seen this Bogle before too. It touched my dad when I was a kid. And then he died within a year.
Yes. And I see no other justification for that, so I'm convinced of the Bogle.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the Bogle right there. Haunting this episode.
No, that's the Beagle.
Oh, so close. Very similar.
Who needs a little telling off?
I wonder if they have a common derivation. Beagle and Bogle.
Well, they both haunt this podcast, don't they? Percy.
Yeah, I listened enraptured to the stories of the Death Bogle and the very plausible account of having a year to live. Well, sorry, within a year to live.
Yeah. Within the year, he was dead.
Ooh.
So yeah, that did remind her of something else that happened in her childhood, which is the story that we have today. The story being called The Inextinguishable Candle of the Old White House.
Yes, the candle that wouldn't go out.
Exactly. You've guessed it. All right. You've read this one then.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
I have a way with words, and the way is listening to them and then understanding their meanings. That's...
I mean, look, this is just how people named stories like 100 years ago, right? They just told you exactly what it was.
It's great. You know, there's no trailers, there's no teasers, there's no suspense. It's just, there was a candle that wouldn't go out.
Yeah.
And it was scary, because candles normally do that.
Yeah, eventually.
Normally, yeah.
And also it happened in the president's house.
The president of Scotland?
No.
Didn't think Scotland had a president.
The old White House, but I don't think that's going to refer to
the White
1600
House.
Pennsylvania Avenue, no.
Yes, but we will alert Biden all the same, just to date this episode.
Yeah, who knows when this comes out? Probably Biden, but we'll see. He's an old man.
Yeah, okay. But, ooh,
He'll die
spooky.
within a year.
Okay, well, let's hope that Biden has not been touched by the Bogle and proceed with the story of the inextinguishable candle.
Of the old White House.
Of the old White House.
Mm-hmm. There was once a house known as the Old White House that used to stand by the side of the road close to where you say the horse first took fright. Now, that's the horse from the Death Bogle episode.
Yes.
It ran away from the Bogle.
Sorry, that's quite a garden path sentence.
Yeah. Elliott has a way with words.
Sometimes he puts them in the right order and sometimes he doesn't. His way is a garden path.
It sure is. Some people of the name Halkett, relations of dear old Sir Arthur Halkett, and great friends of ours, used to live there. The house, it was popularly believed, had been built on the site of an ancient burial ground.
Womp, womp, womp. Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, no. Don't do that. Like, if you're planning on building something, just like... I mean, okay.
Move the graves.
I don't know this much about the geography of Scotland. What proportion of it is ancient burial ground? Like, if you go... I mean, presumably every inch of the earth, if you go back far enough...
Scottish blood has bled all over these here rocks. I don't know why that was a Yorkshire accent.
It's fine. We should get this out of the way. My Scottish accent is kind of Shrek by way of Billy Connolly, so it's not...
It could be worse. It could have been
yeah.
whatever I just did.
Well, the...
Ancient burial ground, huh?
Ancient burial ground. What a great starting point for a ghost story. Have we established that the Bogle is a ghost or a... No, the Bogle is a cryptid.
Yeah,
right?
the Bogle is just kind of a catch-all term for just weird stuff that perplexes humanity one way or the other.
Right.
So it's just things that boggle people's minds. Like, you got to remember, this is being said in a Scottish accent.
Bogle. Yeah, I suppose it boggles the mind. That makes sense. Excellent. Consider me boggled.
Everyone used to say it was haunted, and the Halketts had great trouble in getting servants.
That's hard. It's hard to get good help these days, I find. You know how when you start a story, you should make your protagonist really relatable?
Yeah, you had to put a bookshelf together yourself.
I know. Whoa. It's true. Imagine what I could have done with a bit of help.
2 bookcases.
Yeah, it just would have been nice. I just would have liked a friend. I think when I say servant... I mean person that enjoys my company. That's what I'm going for.
Does your partner listen?
Yeah, but she doesn't put up shelves.
Okay.
Look, my partner's great. I need a second friend, if that's possible, if that's allowable.
Yeah.
To put up shelves. This is really painting a bad picture. I'm sorry, Ellen.
The appearance of the haunted house did not belie its reputation, for its grey walls, sombre garden, gloomy hall, dark passages and staircase, and sinister-looking attics could not have been more thoroughly suggestive of all kinds of ghostly phenomena. Moreover, the whole atmosphere of the place, no matter how hot and bright the sun, was cold and dreary, and it was a constant source of wonder to everyone how Lady Halkett could live there. She was, however, always cheerful, and used to tell me that nothing would induce her to leave a spot dear to so many generations of her family and associated with the happiest recollections of her life. She was very fond of company, and there was scarcely a week in the year in which she had not someone staying with her. I can only remember her as a widow, her husband, a major in the Gordon Highlanders, having died in India before I was born.
Right.
She had 2 daughters, Margaret and Alice, both considered very handsome, but some years older than I.
Mm-hmm.
And handsome didn't always used to mean man.
Yeah, handsome was like gender neutral, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm pretty sure that earlier in this very book, the author Elliott O'Donnell described the woman he is so very clearly in love with as also handsome.
So it's not like a backhanded way of complimenting, like...
No.
It's
straight up.
Okay.
I don't think they'd figured out sarcasm back then.
Yeah. Sarcasm was invented in 1963. Yeah.
By whom?
Yes. Mr. Sarcasm. They named it after the guy.
Well done.
My brilliant improv brain strikes again. I thought I was...
This difference in age, however, did not prevent our being on very friendly terms, and I was constantly invited to their house. In the summer to croquet and archery, in the winter to balls.
You spoke fondly of croquet in the previous episode, and I just want to... I haven't done much croquet in my life, as my nan calls it.
Friend to
well, yes. But I'm fond of the large mallet and the hitting the ball. I think I just have a lot of violence inside, in a rage, that croquet is the best way to get out.
It's probably the only sport that has such a violent-looking implement.
Yeah.
That is used so lightly. You basically use it as a pendulum. You don't even put force behind it.
That's true, yeah. I'm trying to think of another... But you're right. Maybe like an ice skate or something like that.
Archery, on the other hand.
Yeah.
And the most dangerous activity of all. Balls.
Balls.
Dancing balls.
You can really take an eye out with one of those. It's dangerous. You've got to meet people of the right social standing.
Yep.
You could do threat to your social class, and in a way that's more damaging.
I feel like back then, it's being organised by people who make sure that there's only good matchups involved, right? They're not inviting a riffraff to this old manor.
Yeah, I'm not there.
No. No.
Absolutely not.
I might be serving drinks.
Yeah. Whoa. Look at you. Getting airs and graces.
Getting tips.
Don't push your luck.
Like most elderly ladies of that period, Lady Halkett was very fond of cards, and she and my mother used to frequently play bezique and cribbage, whilst the girls and I indulged in something rather more frivolous.
Bezique. I've heard of cribbage. I've never played cribbage. I've never even heard of bezique.
You're looking to me as if I'm the one who should have looked this up. And
no.
Normally I do.
No, that's okay. We'll come up with our own rules for that by the end of this.
I think, look, it's probably fair to say some variation of bridge.
Yep,
right?
That makes sense.
Most of these games are.
Yeah, bridges all the way down.
On these occasions, the carriage always came for us at 10, since my mother, for some reason or other, I had a shrewd suspicion it was on account of the alleged haunting, would never return home after that time. So she always makes sure to leave at 10 o'clock.
Yes. There's a lot of complexity in these sentences. I suppose you have to create the mystery, even in the parts of the story where there isn't that much mystery, so that it maintains a certain tone.
Yeah, I can tell from his writing how this man speaks. I think. And I do wonder if perhaps many of these stories began as oral tradition. Like he would go on stage and speak rather than have it written down. But
you know, they flow very well as a podcast script. They have a very oratory style. At the same time, it's very of its era. Yeah. And it's hard to, all compliments to you for getting that cadence down because...
Well, you forget this is the second time I've read this out loud.
That's true. You've read all of this.
It's the third time I've read it. When she accepted an invitation to a ball, it was always conditionally that Lady Halkett would put us both up for the night, and the carriage used then to come for us the following day after 1 o'clock luncheon.
Okay, so we're really establishing there are people that stay at the house, they have very strict schedules so we know the exact timing of this. Like, if I think of this as a detective story, this is your Agatha Christie explaining where everyone is in every room at every point in time. I'm getting the sense that something very specific is going to happen. There's going to be a very pointed haunting. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think what that sentence means is that basically, if she had to stay overnight, then she would be repaid with having lunch the following day rather than leaving only after breakfast.
Oh, that just sounds like a good deal.
Yeah.
I would also stay overnight. Oh, you're going to be making lunch tomorrow?
Like, I'm never staying here overnight.
No, I have a terrible fear of leaving in the night time. Anyway, what's for breakfast? What's for lunch?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yep.
Yeah. This is two old acerbic friends who they're keeping tally every time.
Yeah. I made the sandwiches last time, so yeah.
No, you didn't. The servants did.
But I paid for the servants to get the bread to... But yeah, okay.
I shall never forget the last time I went to a dance at the Old White House, though it is now rather more than 50 years ago. So I'm sure it's very fresh in memory.
Yes, my goodness. This is...
Don't forget, Flora MacDonald is like a 60-year-old.
So 50 years ago she was 10?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember when I was 10 now at 31. I just want to put that... Yeah,
good
okay.
instinct.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, now I'm going down another path here.
Do it.
The way that memory generally works is the things we recall are the things that we've repeated to ourselves a lot over the course of our lives.
Yes.
And the reason that you end up with false memories is that you have like a false repetition that gets reinforced and you get like false details and certain things get amplified. It's kind of like a game of telephone in that way.
With yourself and your long-term memory.
Right. So I can totally understand how she would have a memory of having been to a ball or been to this house by the time she gets to 60. There may be some details that are different to what she would have recalled had you asked her a week later when she was 10. Am I getting warmer with where this story is going?
Interestingly enough, we find out exactly where she was 1 week after the ball.
Interestingly. Yeah. Okay, there we go.
My mother had not been very well for some weeks, having, so she thought, taken cold internally.
So she has a cold?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's the old phrase of having a cold, right?
Yeah.
She had not had a doctor, partially because she did not feel ill enough, and partly because the only medical man near us was an apothecary, whose skill she had a very poor opinion.
I didn't see a doctor because the local was crap.
Yeah. Also, not a doctor.
Yes.
Like, it's a pharmacist at best.
Yep.
He would have had a shelf.
Yep.
Upon which was a jar that contained leeches.
Yeah, my local leech dealer was not the person I wanted to go to.
And it's because, I'm not sick enough.
Yeah.
I think she just doesn't want to go to this ball.
Yeah. I mean, oh no, I'm terribly ill.
Yeah.
This is a wise person. They have very similar social graces to myself, and I admire that about them. They like sandwiches, and they don't like going to the ball.
Perfect.
Samesies. Mood.
Good murder sandwich around. My mother had quite made up her mind to accompany me to the ball, but at the last moment, weather being appalling, she yielded to advice, and my Aunt Nora, who happened to be staying with us at the time, chaperoned me instead. So, maybe the mother is actually ill.
Okay.
If multiple people are telling her, no, stay, lie down, get well.
Or she's a good actor.
It was snowing when we set out, and as it snowed all through the night and most of the next day, the roads were completely blocked, and we had to remain at the Old White House from Monday evening till the following Thursday.
Whoa. That's a thing that had to happen in the old days. You just got snowed in and then, that's where you are.
Yep. Just stuck in one house for a week and a half.
What a joyful time that would be. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't work. I can't do anything. I have no way of communicating with the outside world.
Yeah. Everyone's just stuck. I mean, look, at least she's stuck there with everyone else who went to the ball.
Right.
Like, thank God it's not just one family trapped in a house, Shining style.
Yes. But also, this is definitely becoming more and more an Agatha Christie murder mystery premise by the minute. We were all snowed in for 10 days with all of the attendees of the fancy regal local ball. Like, what an incredible...
All the servants are stuck there as well.
Oh,
The
well,
coachman who's got another job to get off to.
but he can't. I mean, I think I may have even watched this movie.
If you were to see a shelf of Agatha Christie novels,
Hmm.
would the Inextinguishable candle be out of place there?
You're right, that fits entirely. Right next to the Pale Horse. And, well, like, actually, a lot of your episode titles probably would fit as Agatha Christie titles.
That's a good point.
Spin-off
Ooh,
podcast
I'm
opportunity.
I'm going to go back through my episode list now.
Mm.
Aunt Nora and I occupied separate bedrooms, and mine was at the end of a long passage away from everyone else's. Prior to this, my mother and I had always shared a room, the only really pleasant one, so I thought, in the house, overlooking the front lawn.
Okay. So you'd stayed in one room and you thought it was the only pleasant room because it was the one you'd stayed in?
Yeah.
My assumption would be all the rooms are lovely because I've stayed in one and it was lovely. But this is the optimist that I am.
Well, I guess, I mean, she is a little girl exploring this big house with her two friends, Margaret and Alice. I assume they probably played like hide and seek in
Right,
all
you're
of the
right.
bedrooms.
And it's like, I wouldn't want to stay here. That's
Yeah.
not, yeah.
If you're forcing me to stay overnight, we're taking the good bedroom.
Yes. That makes sense, actually. Yep. Okay, I will forgive this literal child. I keep realizing I'm just making fun of a child at this point in the story.
No, a little bit making fun of a child through the memory of a 60-year-old woman.
That's true.
Through the transmission of the story to Elliott O'Donnell, who's now written it.
Okay.
Someone along the way could have exercised some editorial powers, but did not.
Yes, I suppose at the end, one question we can ask is which of those people do we blame for what the story ended up becoming? The 10-year-old, the 60-year-old, or the gentleman penning the book?
Him.
Yeah,
Absolutely him. He's the reason this page is in front of me right now.
Yep. That's indubitable.
Or his publishers. Or the people who republished the book.
From my perspective, you're the you put this in front of me.
Yeah, you're not my friend, you're my victim.
That's how it works.
The door is locked, so you can't escape. Not for another 3 pages. Ah!
They all flung shut with a peal of lightning when I arrived. I did think that was odd.
That's just an Adelaide winter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But on this occasion, there being a number of visitors, belated like ourselves, we had to squeeze in wherever we could. And as my aunt and I were to have separate rooms, my aunt liking a room to herself, it was natural that she should be allotted to the largest and most comfortable.
Naturally. This aunt's got it made.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't even want to come to this ball.
Yep.
She's only come to chaperone the girl because the mother is ill.
Yep.
So, you know what? That's fair. Give her the nice room.
I love Aunt Nora.
Aunt Nora.
I love Aunt Nora.
MVP Aunt Nora.
Yeah, why don't you do MVPs for more of the episodes?
Because there's not normally a hero. We normally hate everyone by the end of it.
I don't normally give network notes, but you need to be putting an MVP on every single episode.
Yeah.
A full roster by the end of the series, please.
Right. Last episode, MVP, the horse. Consequently, she was domiciled in the wing where all the other visitors slept, whilst I was forced to retreat to a passage on the other side of the house where, with the exception of my apartment, there were none other but lumber rooms.
Lumber rooms being wood? Oh,
No.
okay. The rooms are made of lumber, or the rooms are used to store lumber?
Lumber room is essentially a spare room.
Okay.
Right? So, look, it's a big house, it's a fancy house, these people are rich, they've got rich friends, they gift each other stuff. They have summer furniture and winter furniture. They have the indoor dining set, the outdoor dining set. All this stuff needs to be stored somewhere.
Right.
So the lumber room is where you store the stuff that you've just been lumbered with throughout the years.
I think that's just my office. I just work in and amongst the stuff that doesn't fit in the rest of the house.
Yeah, that's what we do these days.
Yeah.
Back then, in this strata of society, they had multiple rooms with which to just store this stuff. An entire wing was dedicated
God.
to stuff.
And now we have secondhand stores
Yeah.
for that stuff to go elsewhere.
Now we can move that stuff around a bit easier, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's fair to
But
say.
this is pre-commerce. So
All went smoothly and happily, and nothing interrupted the harmony of our visit till the night before we returned home. We had had supper. Our meals were differently arranged in those days.
okay, yep. We're getting all the details from Elliott here. We're getting
Yeah.
the crucial salient points.
Yeah, so this is, I guess, like the 1850s talking to the 1910s.
Right, yeah. So this is, for us now in 2024, the 60s, 70s. How's my maths doing?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so if we could speak to the Beatles.
They
This
would
is
probably
the
still
same.
also had supper. Let's be honest.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
And Margaret and I were ascending the staircase on our way to bed, when Alice, who had run upstairs ahead of us, met us with a scared face.
Oh, okay, so there's some... Don't worry, guys, there is something spooky happening in this episode.
I promise. Once again, Elliott has taken us on a long, winding road to get to something happening.
To be fair, I have also made it considerably more winding.
That's what we're here for, isn't it?
I'm given an opportunity to weigh in at every half sentence, and I have done so, I think, at every half sentence the entire time.
Oh, I've stopped at every full stop in the story, which is clearly fewer than you'd expect.
Yes, my goodness.
I mean, look, if you do just want to go and read this book yourself, you can pick up a copy of Scottish Ghost Stories by Elliott O'Donnell.
I am assuming people are tuning in for the editorial and not just for the... Get to the story. I want to hear about these ghosts.
I think we'd be surprised.
Oh, maybe. Well, then hop to it, Callum. I'm so sorry. I've been keeping us from it.
Oh, do come to my room, she cried. Something has happened to Mary. Mary was one of the housemaids. We both accompanied her, and on entering the room, found Mary seated in a chair, sobbing hysterically. One only had to glance at the girl to see that she was suffering from some very severe shock. Though normally red-cheeked and placid, in short, a very healthy, stolid creature, and the last person to be easily perturbed, she was now without a vestige of colour, whilst the pupils of her eyes were dilated with terror, and her entire body, from the crown of her head to the soles of her feet, shook as if with ague.
Ague?
Ague means fever and shivering.
I see. So she's shaking like she's got a fever. All the colour's drained from her face.
Yep.
And we're taking pains to stress that Mary is not one of these weak and feeble women that we normally have around the house. This is one of the toughies. And even she's frightened. So we should be doubly frightened.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I sound like less than half the measure of Mary, so I should be very perturbed myself.
Why, Mary, Margaret exclaimed. Whatever is the matter? What has happened? It's the candle, miss, the girl gasped. The candle in Miss Trevor's room. I can't put it out. I've got a little quiz for you.
Uh-huh.
When do you think the trick candle was invented?
Oh.
I'll give you three options.
Uh-huh.
1970s, 1870s, or this is a trick question and no one has any idea.
So a trick candle.
So, you know, like the candle that you light, you blow out and it comes back on?
Yes. So I don't know the mechanism behind that. Are we going to give away some magic secrets? Are we going to be permanently banned from the magic cavern?
Yeah, mine's on the right track there.
Yeah.
The mechanism to a trick candle is to put magnesium mixed in the wick.
Right,
So that when you blow it out, there's still enough heat for the magnesium to ignite, and that reignites the wick as well.
So because you've got the latent heat there,
Yeah.
it just restarts the flame, and once the flame's restarted, it's just burning the wick again.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, with that additional bit of chemistry knowledge, I would say the 1970s is too late, which puts me between 1870s and we don't know. I'm going to go 1870s because I like there to be concrete answers to these things.
Sorry, trick question. We don't know.
We don't know.
Precisely because you're right, it's a magic trick.
Yeah.
The first guy to invent it
Of course.
never revealed his secret, right?
Yeah.
And enough people have invented it throughout the years that trick candles and magic candles go back a fair way.
The only thing is I would assume that if you went back far enough, you wouldn't know about chemical properties of objects and that sort of thing. Like,
there is absolutely
the idea of elements. Yeah.
No reason to think that there is, in fact, a magician's candle sitting on the shelf in this room.
No. And certainly, at this point, the magician of the house...
Who might be at this ball, maybe.
Yes. I mean, this is at the point where the Agatha Christie character, the magician, emerges and says, no, I'm just a very good magician, this is fine. And all are amazed. Yeah.
I can't give up. I can't help these poor girls. I can't tell them that this is all just a trick because I'm out of a job if I say that.
That's a good point.
I'll be working at the bloody apothecary with my mate Trevor.
I'll be slinging leeches before the day's out.
Like he isn't already.
Yeah.
Pull a leech out of my hat.
But this time for a living. Yeah. So, okay. The stage is set.
But I did just want to mention the 1970s there.
Yes.
Is when they started to be banned.
Because magnesium.
Well, because it's just kind of a terrible idea to have a fire that you cannot put out mixed with a party with a bunch of booze mixed with the 70s amount of hairspray in any given room.
Yes, okay. Well, especially in the 70s, this is when hairsprays were particularly flammable as well, because now there are more restrictions on aerosols than there were in the 70s. So, yes, granted.
So, yeah. This 1970s is when people stopped being able to make trick candles and just sell them at any given party store. So theoretically, maybe this is...
That's when they cancelled trick candles. Candle culture.
What are they coming for next?
Because of woke. Because of Wick. There we go. Hey, thank you.
There you go. That's
fantastic. Well, I knew we were going to get there. I knew it. We just needed to keep going.
All right, back to the story then, eh? You can't put it out? Why? What nonsense, Margaret said. Are you mad? It's as true as I sit here, miss, Mary panted. I put the candle on the mantelpiece while I set the room to rights, and when I had finished and come to blow it out, I couldn't. I blew and blew and blew, but it hadn't any effect. And then I grew afraid, miss. Horribly afraid. And here she buried her face in her hands and shuddered. I've never been frightened like this before, miss, she returned slowly, and I've come away and left the candle burning.
Well, don't do that.
What else can she do?
Bring the candle with her.
I guess, but she's scared.
Mid panic attack, everyone is always very present of mind. So zero empathy. Yeah, you're right. I will say, if she's never been frightened like this in her life, that suggests more that she has not suffered enough fear elsewhere in her life up to this point.
That might be true. And look, I know you did say that to a child, when any grown adult is scared, it sort of leaves an impact.
Yeah.
But nowhere in this story did it say that Mary was a grown woman. They continually refer to her as girl, and I think she might be actually quite young and still a maid or servant in the house.
Okay. So it's a 10-year-old seeing like a 15-year-old and being like, oh my goodness, this old woman.
It's like when there's an emergency and your babysitter doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Okay. I've got a new headspace to enter into.
So, keeping all that in mind, Margaret doesn't sound like a nice person.
No.
How absurd of you, Margaret scolded. We must go and put it out at once. I have a good mind to make you come with us, Mary. But there, stay where you are, and for goodness sake, stop crying, or everyone in the house will hear you.
Classic Margaret. Yeah. I have a good mind to make you come with us. I mean, that's not that heavy a threat to be... Oh, okay.
Drag you back to the scene of your trauma.
Right, yes. Yeah. I thought it was just... Yeah.
That's some 16-year-old shit, that is.
See, I would think that there is a nice way of approaching this, which is just, come, let's see that it's not as frightening together, as opposed to, you're going to come back here and you're going to blow out this candle, missy.
I think these people almost lost their minds, given they've been trapped in a house together for a week and a half.
You mentioned The Shining earlier, and it is very...
It's getting there, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. So everyone's a bit stir-crazy, and a candle won't blow out, and they've all proceeded to lose their shit. Yes, okay.
So saying, Margaret hurried off, Alice and I accompanying her, and on arriving outside my room, the door of which was wide open, we perceived the lighted candle standing in the position Mary had described. I looked at the girls and perceived, in spite of my endeavours not to perceive it, the unmistakable signs of a great fear of something they suspected, but dared not name, lurking in the corner of their eyes.
Yeah, the candlelight does that. You see things appear to move in the corner of the room because it flickers. That's the kind of the whole...
Yep, good point.
Sorry. Oh, God, goodness, old houses. I say this, and, I've come on the show before. I'm trying to be less skeptical at this point of the story than I was last time, because I was very... very skeptic heavy.
These guys hard
I did.
And I'm here for it, by the way.
Yes. But as the surrogate Olly in this one, I'm not going to come for it as hard. I will say, I do have a lot of empathy for just being in old houses and being spooked. And just, these small children should have not been allowed in large houses. They should have all been sent to the city. Oh, my goodness. I'm worried on behalf of these kids.
Children.
Yes. Roaming errantly around the countryside. Yeah, I really struggle with, especially in movies, seeing kids experience horrific circumstances and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so,
there's nothing like the presence of a child to really ratchet up a horror film.
Exactly, and that's kind of one of my lines about watching horror films and that sort of thing. And it doesn't matter whether it's a child that is the victim or the evil person, because I also don't like, the child turns around and with glowing eyes, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, there's something about the level of empathy I have towards kids in those sorts of stories and films. And I'm feeling that now, even though this is a written story, I'm really empathizing with the kids in the room, much less than the adults that should know better in some ways.
Boy, I've accidentally picked the right story for you then.
No, fantastic. I'm right in it now.
Who will go first? Margaret demanded. No one spoke. Well then, she continued, I will. And, suiting the action to the word, she stepped over the threshold. The moment she did so, the door began to close. This is curious, she cried. Push! We did. We all three pushed, but, despite our efforts, the door came resolutely to, and we were shut out. Then, before we had time to recover from our astonishment, it flew open. But before we could cross the threshold, it came violently to in the same manner as before. Some unseen force held it against us.
Right. So hang on. They've gone to go into the room where the candle is?
Margaret stepped toward the door and it closed in her face.
Right.
When they pushed... Didn't work, they stepped back. The door opened again.
That's better if there's a terrible apparition in the room that she's not trapped in there with said apparition.
Yeah.
Look, as much as we've all said some things about Margaret tonight, but I'm personally glad that she's not trapped in there with some sort of unknown creature, some sort of Bogle.
Given that she's the least likeable person in the story,
yes,
to my mind, is there someone you'd prefer to be trapped in the room?
Of the people in the story, or just in general? Just people in life.
Let's go first. People in the story.
No, Margaret's a good choice, I will say.
Okay. And secondly, people in general.
Scott Morrison.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Elliott O'Donnell's editor.
That's a much better shout. Yeah. I would like for one of the people that was involved in the publication of this book to have experienced more stuff firsthand.
In that room, and you're not coming out until you've finished editing.
Well, there's a candle that won't go out, so at least you've got something to edit by.
Yep. Let us make one more effort, Margaret said. And if we don't succeed, we'll call for help. Obeying her instructions, we once again pushed. I was nearest the handle, and in some manner, how none of us could ever explain, just as the door opened of its own accord, I slipped and fell inside. The door then closed immediately with a bang, and to my unmitigated horror, I found myself alone in the room.
Wow. Yeah,
Thank
I would have
God it's the narrator of the story who's ended up in there.
I mean, that does make for a better story, as opposed to, I was next to the room where it happened. That's why that's famously not the song in Hamilton. Yes. Okay, so she's in the room where it happened. The room where it
Yes.
happened.
Yep.
The room where it
The
happened.
room where it is currently happening.
It's to her. Oh no.
Yeah.
Mm.
For some seconds I was spellbound, and could not even collect my thoughts sufficiently to frame a reply to the piteous entreaties of the Holkets, who kept banging on the door and imploring me to tell them what was happening.
Yeah, that's not... She said previously that the fear was unmitigated, and I am assuming that it was not mitigated by people being like, what's up? What's going on?
And also, this is Margaret we're talking about. I don't think it's nice. What's happening?
Yes.
I say, tell me.
Why have you shut this door?
Open up again. Right now. I command it.
Open up so I can beat you. Yeah.
Jesus. She's not the maid.
That's true, that's true. Oh, then it will be fine.
Never in the hideous excitement of nightmare had I experienced such terror as the terror that room conveyed to my mind.
Mm.
Though nothing was to be seen, nothing but the candle, the light of which was peculiarly white and vibrating, I felt the presence of something inexpressibly menacing and horrible. It was in the light, the atmosphere, the furniture, everywhere. On all sides it surrounded me. On all sides I was threatened in a manner that was strange and deadly.
Well, we know the man is strange and deadly. That's why it's got so many rooms.
I'm not getting a cheers.
That's allowed. Yeah, you're experiencing fear. What you're describing is fear.
Yes.
You feel a presence that, yeah.
At least we know that Mary wasn't overreacting. It's happening to a second person.
It's true. This is, if anything, very validating for Mary, who I'm sure that Margaret will be promptly apologising to in great detail, right?
I don't think
Right?
Mary comes back, to be honest.
That's the end of the story, is Margaret goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I was really out of hand there.
Yeah. It's out of line. I'm sorry.
I'm going to add
I'll
that.
wait on you for a day.
Yeah. We can trade places. Yeah, well, look, we can add this as a coda to the story ourselves.
Yeah.
We can add our own pages at the end. It's your book. You own it now.
Oh, I've got a pen here somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
What does carbon monoxide poisoning display?
Oh, interesting. Yes, I see. So,
Because this house has been snowed in, it's entirely possible that there's actually no airflow in this room whatsoever.
interesting.
This candle's been burning there for a long time. There's a lot of smoke, not a lot of oxygen left in there.
Now, we did say the door was open before,
Yeah, I'm ignoring that in my theory.
but carbon monoxide, like, even so, having a candle that's burning for a very long time, and this is also in an era where candles like the wax as well would release like stronger vapors into the air and that sort of stuff. Like, are we talking whale oil candles in this era?
I think whale oil's for lamps.
But yeah, you're right. So I'm trying to think what kind of wax. Paraffin wax?
Paraffin? Yeah, I honestly don't know.
Yeah. But it's either way, it's going to be a
Human
more...
remains wax
Yeah,
from the
cool.
ancient burial ground under the house.
That's true. They dug it up. They decided, let's just pack it all together and stick a wick in it.
In some way, is that not what we do with coal and dinosaurs?
Whoa. In some ways, yes. And in other truer ways, no. But it did blow my mind momentarily. I do think that it's quite possible that the reason they're feeling suffocated in some way is because they are,
Literally
on some level, literally suffocated. Yeah. That there is actually just gas in the room that they're not used to.
entirely possible.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming this is the room that she's been sleeping in all week.
Yes.
So I don't know if this kind of stuff builds up or if it just like reaches a tipping point.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about gas poisoning.
Oh, well, it's not good. That's my hot take.
It's never good.
Yeah. It's one of those things that where people are like, nah.
I don't even know if candles release carbon monoxide. That might just be a natural gas thing. I don't know.
Well, I don't know much about
Carbon dioxide.
specific,
There's combustion.
but also it depends if you are also melting some of the wax and that's being released as vapor into the air. So this is what I was saying before about paraffin wax. Oh, this is going back to year 11 chemistry, so it's a long while ago, but I believe that may also be releasing other stuff into the air more than just the flame. Because the
Formaldehyde and stuff. I've heard something about old candles and formaldehyde.
old candles, yeah, Well, it's not like you had a regulatory body in favour
No.
in terms of what's allowed to be in candles and stuff. So I think you would have combustion from the air would produce carbon dioxide, but also no, I'm not gonna dig too deep on this one. I will Google it after we record.
And I won't edit it.
Well, guys, don't worry. If I got it wrong, I've corrected myself after the fact, and you should too. Hi, I'm Justin for Wikipedia, and
Was that just the best pun we're going to have all night? Wikipedia?
atrocious.
No, that's a cheers.
Oh, okay. I'll take it. I'll claim that one.
I don't know why I'm not paying Anna and I'm paying Wick. But yeah.
Yeah. No, you've paid out Wick twice. Wick
Was
is
the same joke twice?
No, it was a Wick joke twice. It's
I
paying
just thought
dividends.
It was like candles. There's one right behind it. Boo!
Whoa, I'm spooked already.
Something suggesting to me that the source of evil originated in the candle, and that if I could succeed in extinguishing the light, I should free myself from the ghostly presence. I advanced toward the mantelpiece and, drawing a deep breath, blew. Blew with the energy born of desperation. It had no effect. I repeated my efforts. I blew frantically, madly, but all to no purpose. The candle still burned. Burned softly and mockingly. Then a fearful terror seized me. And, flying to the opposite side of the room, I buried my face against the wall and waited for what the sickly beatings of my heart warned me was coming.
I mean, I was thinking that maybe the reason she's not blowing it out is because she is 10 and it's on a mantelpiece.
Constrained to look, I slightly, only very, very slightly moved round, and there, floating stealthily toward me through the air, came the candle, the vibrating, glowing, baleful candle. I hid my face again and prayed God to let me faint.
Let me faint. God, can you just get me out of here? Not to intervene and stop the candle. Protect me from the candle. No, just like, I don't want to be awake for my imminent death by candle.
Nearer and nearer drew the light. Wilder and wilder the wrenches at the door. Closer and closer I pressed myself to the wall. And then, when the final throes of agony were more than the human heart and brain could stand, there came the suspicion, the suggestion of a touch. Of a touch so horrid that my prayers were at last answered, and I fainted.
Prayers answered, yeah. What was she touched by?
The candle. It reached
a candle. Is it in like a candelabra and it like swung round?
I'll tell you what, I do have a picture of the candle. Well, I say picture. It's a drawing of the candle.
Wow, okay. That is a spooky candle. What a roaring flame as well.
Yeah.
So if I'm to describe what I'm seeing, we have a candle that I would say it's been burning for a very long time, possibly because it's inextinguishable. And the wax is kind of dripping, sluicing off one side.
Yeah, I think that's meant to be a picture of it like floating through the air. It's kind of like tilting toward her.
And then it's in a candlestick holder, which has like a spiral. I'm assuming this is either carved wood or metal. I can't quite tell from the
I think this is a fancy
illustration.
pants house. We can assume it's metal.
Probably metal, yeah. Well, it depends. Maybe it's fancier to be like, I'm going to burn my candle in wood.
Look at me risking my house.
Yeah, exactly. I've got plenty more in my lumber room. That's right. I know what that's called. Yeah. I'm very fancy.
And now so do all our listeners.
Exactly. You're fancy too with us. Fantastic. And
We're
Olly
only
isn't.
fancy
Olly hasn't learned yet. Olly's the only non-fancy one.
We have done this story with him before.
Oh, yeah.
This is the lost one.
No.
Sorry.
Guys, you have to promise you're not going to tell Olly what a lumber room is. It's our secret.
But I think if we were to ask him, he would not recall. I've read so many weird shit to him.
Yeah.
We've done episodes since that one as well. Your brain can only hold on to so much.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would not blame him if he did not remember.
Even going back and editing this stuff, like we record a couple, then I go back and edit one from a few weeks ago. I'm like, what is happening? What is this? I don't think I was this drunk.
No, that's just, it's memory plays tricks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So do candles, apparently.
So I'm hearing.
When I recovered, I was in Margaret's room, and half a dozen well-known forms were gathered around me. It appears that with the collapse of my body on the floor, the door that had so effectively resisted every effort to turn the handle immediately flew open, and I was discovered lying on the ground with the candle still alight on the ground beside me.
That's bad.
Yeah,
On
at least the door's open.
Yeah, okay. So is it tipped over on the floor? I'm assuming it's tipped over on the floor. It's not sitting perfectly upright next to her. Maybe not, though.
I don't think we get any more talk about the candle.
Oh my god, that's the key thing. Is the candle still alight? Is it no longer lit? This is fairly pertinent information to the Inextinguishable. Okay.
Yeah. But we don't know if it's standing up on its side, upside down, we don't know.
Is the house going to burn down? Feels like fairly pertinent information for her to have missed, but I suppose...
You may recall...
Yeah.
This story started when she was talking about a house that once stood near where the Death Bogle event happened.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Does the house burn down? I'm so excited for Margaret's house to burn down.
It couldn't happen to a nicer person.
Oh no, Margaret. Where are you going to live now? Anywhere else?
If she makes it out.
Oh my goodness, the tension. I can't bear it. You must go on. Must read more.
My aunt experienced no difficulty in blowing out the refractory candle.
Oh, okay.
And I was carried with the greatest tenderness into the other wing of the house where I slept that night.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the candle got blown out and then I went to bed.
Yep.
Okay.
Little was said about the incident the next day, but all who knew it expressed in their faces the utmost anxiety, an anxiety which, now that I had recovered, greatly puzzled me. On our return home, another shock awaited me. We found to our dismay that my mother was seriously ill. And that the
Hang
doctor...
on, how is this related? Wait, this was really set up as like, we got home and we heard message that previous house had burnt down or something.
Oh, no, the house hasn't burned down yet. That's just me doing little spoilers for what happens in like half a page.
Oh.
So she left the house as it was still standing and the candle was out. She's gone home and her mother is seriously ill.
Seriously ill, okay.
Yeah. And that the doctor, who had been sent for from Perth the previous evening, just about the time of my adventure with the candle, had stated that she might not survive the day. His warning was fulfilled. She died at sunset. Her death, of course, may have had nothing at all to do with the candle episode, yet it struck me then as an odd coincidence, and seems all the more strange to me after hearing your account of the Bogle that touched your dear father in the road, so near the spot where the Halkett's house once stood. I could never discover whether Lady Halkett or her daughters ever saw anything of the superphysical nature in their house. After my experience, they were always very reticent on that subject, and naturally I did not like to press it. On Lady Halkett's death, Margaret and Alice sold the house, which was eventually pulled down as no one would live in it, and I believe the ground on which it stood is now a turnip field.
You bait and switched. You did such a good job of baiting and switching there. Oh my goodness.
That, my dear, is all I can tell you.
And that turnip field was on an ancient burial ground.
Haunted turnips.
Haunted turnips. Oh no. Wow. Yeah. That's a really interesting ending because it's like your ghost story reminded me of this other ghost story. Like,
in which a spooky thing happened and then a parent died.
Yes.
And then here, a parent was sick and then a spooky thing happened and a parent died.
Yeah. So it really feels like a very natural way of telling ghost stories, right? Like, it's your ghost story reminded me of this thing, and it's a little bit of one-upmanship and that sort of thing as well.
Well, that's why she told it, and also why she finishes thusly. Now, Mr. O'Donnell, Miss MacDonald added, having heard our experiences, my mother's and mine, what is your opinion? Do you think that the phenomenon of the candle was in any way connected with the Bogle both you and I have seen? Or are the hauntings of the old White House entirely separate from those of the road?
Now we've got to do... Oh, sorry, the end.
Officially. We can continue with our discussion of... Do you think they're connected?
Well, I mean, they're connected conceptually.
Yep. That's about it. Parents tend to die.
Yeah. I do think that this one is more convincing than the Death Bogle because it's died within the day, not died within a year.
Yes, but also she was already sick and on the way out.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, she was so sick that she couldn't go to the thing, and then she was left on her own.
Left alone in a house sick for a week and a half. in
that's
weather
right,
so bad that no one can reach their house.
Okay. Look, I would like to retract my previous statement. I think, okay, maybe there's nothing supernatural going on here.
No, I think the moral of the story is shit's rough back then.
Yeah. Yep. Turns out
What if the mother was the Bogle? Wait, does that timeline work out?
Let's say yes.
I don't think it does, but...
What if the doctor was the Bogle?
The doctor from Perth.
Ooh, spooky. I do really like Elliott's attempt to make, and later the house got pulled down because no one would live in it, a spooky thing as opposed to just a thing that happens with old houses.
Yeah. Like this old, rich manor.
Yeah.
That presumably just no one could afford.
Yeah. Eventually, this giant house that no one wanted to buy anymore got pulled down and used for a purpose that people did want it to be used for. Turnips. More profitable than house, as it turns out.
Well, this is the Scots. They love their neeps.
It's true. It's true. As I think Billy Connolly would say. No. I'm not gonna crack that out. Yeah. Wow. I feel more moved cheated by that one. I feel a bit cheated, but I feel like I experienced less of a ghost and more of a story than I did in some of the other ones. Because there at least is an interesting story of a small girl's attempt to process grief and fear and like a fairly formative experience in her life.
Yeah.
Because in a way,
would affect you quite significantly for a while.
Yeah. And
your mother dying.
At that, and in a way, the idea of the candle is the tangible, like, instantiation or personification of fate and inevitability and, like, dark forces. You know, the idea of, at that time especially, being like, you can't necessarily put a name to the sickness that claimed your mother, but you can put a name to the evil candle that was around when your mother died, and you can be like, nah, there was this candle man. And that's like the thing you talk about. Bro, there was this candle. You got to believe me, this candle, bro.
I think we know what the name of the true evil of the story is. Count of three. 1, 2, 3. Margaret.
Got there. I got there only about a second and a half after you.
That's fine.
I thought it was going to be Elliott.
Look, I don't expect you to have necessarily synced up with me on that one. But I do expect you to sync up with me in a minute with another phrase after you've given us your plugs.
Oh, yes.
Because this is a professional outfit.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Hello, I'm Justin. I don't know if I did a proper introduction of myself. I'm Justin MacArthur. I run the Peas in a Podcast Network, on which Secondhand Haunting, and many other podcasts are hosted. You can find out more about hosting with us at peasinner.com.au, where you can also find plenty of other lovely podcasts. We have a wide array of interesting shows, some of which are quite funny, some of them are quite emotional or cultural journeys, or I'm going to start one soon. I'm revealing that right now. I'm going to start another one.
Is this an exclusive scoop? Secondhand Haunting?
I mean, I'm not going to say what it's called, but I'm going to start another one soon, and that's going to be a bit more like journalisty. So we've got all sorts, and we take all comers, and we also have regular podcast get-togethers. So if you're in Adelaide and would like to come along to those, feel free to reach out.
Yeah,
that is pretty much my plugs.
Probably be there.
Yeah, you'll be there. I'll be there, and if that's not disincentive enough. Olly will be there too sometimes as well.
Yeah, get well soon, Olly.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the plugs. This has been a very spooky episode.
Yeah.
I've been spooked. I hope you've been suitably spooked.
I've been spooked for the third time in a row reading this.
Yeah. Oh boy. And it doesn't get any less spooky, I think.
And I'll tell you what, we're gonna do something a little bit different for the next episode of Secondhand Haunting.
Oh.
Yeah. We're crossing the Atlantic.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, well, I look forward to listening back to that on the next episode.
Of
Secondhand Haunting!
Yay!
Hey! We did it! We recorded an episode of a show.
We did. You should probably figure out how to stop this without accidentally deleting it. I'm guessing you have to record button.
If you just hit stop.